Hey guys, happy Halloween, and it's time for a spooky story. Today on the Minuteman Moment, we're gonna dive into the world of nightmares for the Second Amendment. America's neighbors don't seem to share our freedom-loving, World War-winning, can-do attitude. Imagine, if you will, a country with a constitutional right to keep and bear arms, but government interference has whittled away those rights to next to nothing. And no longer can a person defend themselves, but instead has to bow and kiss the ring of the government to own what we would call a plinker. I'm talking about a place which only exists in the horrific dark corners of the mind, the gun control mind. A place where no sane, freedom-loving person can claim they have a functional right to self-defense. This place is known as Mexico. And unlike our neighbors to the north, who have no right to own guns, thanks to the Prime Minister Trudeau banning handguns, our warmer weather neighbors actually had a right to bear arms. In Article 10 of the Mexican Constitution, adopted in 1917, it reads, "The inhabitants of the United Mexican States have the right to keep arms at home for their protection and legitimate defense." Well, maybe it's not the same as our Second Amendment, but it clearly states that people have the right to defend themselves. But there is a caveat. With the exception of those prohibited by federal law and those reserved for the exclusive use of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and National Guard, federal law will state the cases, conditions, requirements, and places where inhabitants can be authorized to carry weapons. So what this means is that there isn't actually a practical way to keep and bear arms. It's the Mexican government that sets the terms and conditions of those who can and can't get a gun. That's muy stupido. And what that sounds like to GOA is how New York wants their carry permit laws to work. Hours and hours of paperwork, nothing above a .22 caliber rifle, and even getting frisked at the one and only gun store in the entire country of Mexico. And guess who runs that store? The Mexican government. Armed guards that patrol the aisles, because we all know that those unloaded encased guns are just waiting to go off. The manager of this gun store is actually a colonel, and his job is to make sure guns end up in the hands of moral and responsible people only, because we all know that Mexico has no crime. And the amazing part about this is that there are only, on average, 38 people a day in the entire country of Mexico that count as moral and responsible. A Mexico City police officer has also said that civilians shouldn't be able to have the same power as the military. Is that the same military that gets destroyed by the cartels? It might be nice if they had some backup. The same cartels who use the guns the government outlawed for civilians. Man, these guys don't seem to get the memo that an armed populace is harder to oppress. Not just by their own government, but also by these non-governmental bad actors. And despite all of this, Mexico's violent crime rate is through the roof, and so is their gun violence. So let's think about this. If gun violence is at sky-high rates, but law-abiding citizens of Mexico can only get a gun from one store after waiting hours and going through a very biased permitting system, who's actually to blame here? Here in the US, we should be thankful we have such a clearly stated constitutional right. The reason we have GOA, even though we have the Second Amendment, is without principled lawmakers, stalwart judges, and a watchdog against government agencies, the Second Amendment is just on a piece of paper. The status of Mexican gun rights are what America would be without an organization like GOA. So thanks for all your support, and thanks for watching the video. I'll see you next time.